I've surveyed land for almost 16 years now, most of it solo. Boundary lines, parcel markers, the jobs nobody else wants because they put you 6-7 miles from the nearest road. Alone, for a week at a time. I used to love that part, the quiet, being unreachable. I don't love it anymore. This was a winter contract, a parcel up in the high country, the kind of place where remote isn't really the right word. You file your route with the ranger station, you pack heavy, and you make peace with one fact. If something goes wrong out there, you're the only one coming to help. Day 1 went clean, 3 markers logged, back to the tent before the light died. Forecast said cold, light snow. Fine. Day 2, the snow stopped asking permission. It came down hard, faster than the forecast, heavier than I'd packed for. There was one more marker, maybe a mile off my line. Every part of my training said turn back. I went for the marker. That was the mistake. I still think about how stupid it was. The slope was all ice under fresh powder. You can't see what you're stepping on. One boot caught wrong, and I went down the embankment, 15 feet, maybe more. A tree root stopped me. The ankle told me immediately. I stood up, and I heard myself make a sound I didn't choose to make. Couldn't put weight on it. And right there, the whole job changed. Because out there, mobility isn't comfort. Mobility is the only thing keeping you alive. I left the marker, started the slow climb back toward the main trail, dragging the leg, slow. That's when I saw the boot prints. They came out of the trees on my left and turned onto the trail ahead of me, heading the same way I was going, fresh. You can tell fresh prints. The edges are still sharp. The snow hasn't softened them yet. Hunter, I figured, or the landowner's crew. People cross paths out there. I didn't think about it. Then I started hearing it, behind me. At first, just forest, wind, branches, the usual. But it kept a rhythm, step for step, with mine. I stopped. And it stopped too. Not right away, a beat late, 1 second, 2, like something catching itself. I started moving again, quiet for a while, then, off to my left through the trees, a sound that did not belong out there. Metal, low, like something tapping a fence post. A piece of equipment, except there are no fence posts out there. There's nothing out there but trees. It pulled my eyes left, and when I looked back down at the trail, the boot prints were gone. I never saw them branch off. They were just not there anymore. And then I saw why. Off to my left, a second set of prints, coming out of the tree line, running parallel to mine, close. Whoever had been ahead of me on that trail wasn't ahead of me anymore. He was beside me now, in the trees, matching my pace. I did the stupid thing. I spoke. I asked if anyone was there. Nothing. 20 seconds of nothing. And the worst part, the thing every cell in my body was screaming to do, run, I physically could not do. So I walked. Fast as a man with a wrecked ankle can walk, telling myself one thing: just get to camp, just get to the tent. Behind me, a branch. Not a branch falling, a branch breaking under weight. I didn't turn around. I kept moving. I made the campsite in full dark, got into the tent, and the second the zipper closed, I understood how stupid that was. A tent isn't shelter from a person. It's a bag you're trapped in. I started packing, and then I heard them, right outside. Footsteps, not coming closer, circling, around the tent, slow, around and around for what felt like 5 minutes. Then, nothing. I didn't hear him leave. I just stopped hearing him. I finished packing, took a breath, unzipped the tent, and stepped out into the snow. He was standing in the tree line. An old man, sick, wrong somehow, the kind of thin that looks like dying, just standing there, staring at me. I put my hands up, told him I didn't want any trouble. He didn't answer. We stood like that, I don't know how long. And then he spoke. One thing, he said. "You're a lucky man." Then he turned, and the trees took him. I don't take winter contracts alone anymore. I bring someone, or I turn the work down. I still don't know what he meant. Lucky how? Lucky compared to what? I think about those prints, how they came out of the trees ahead of me, like something that already knew the trail, like something that had walked it before, waiting for the day someone came through who couldn't run. And here's the part I can't put down. He was right. I was lucky. I just never found out why. Junior year of high school, there was a girl I could not stop thinking about. Her name was Wren. It's hard to explain what it was. She was pretty, but it wasn't that. It was a stillness she carried. She didn't smile. She barely spoke. Most people found her cold or strange and kept their distance. I couldn't look away from her. Catching her eye would lock me up. Like stepping into a cold room, that small flinch your body does before it adjusts. I wrote a lot back then, stories, and I'll admit it, I named one of the characters after her. Wren. I told myself I just liked the name. One morning, I was on the stairwell with a friend, telling him about the story, and he asked what the characters were called. I said the names, and the second I said hers, she came around the corner, the real one. She caught the whole thing, gave me this small smirk, about as close to a smile as she ever got, and said, "What, because you love me?" My friend was laughing. She was already walking past, and I felt the window closing. So I asked her out, right there. That stopped her. She turned and gave me a look that didn't need words. "How dare you?" And then she said yes, gave me her number, said she'd text me, walked off before I could answer. She planned everything. The hike wasn't my idea, none of it was. She picked the trail, a place I'd never been, a place nobody I knew had been. The drive was 45 minutes. Her window down, music I didn't recognize. We pulled into a gravel lot at the trailhead, 2 other cars there. She didn't hesitate. She just started walking. I followed. The first 20 minutes were good. She talked more than I'd ever heard her talk. She asked about the story. I gave her a rough version and tried not to sound like an idiot. Then the trail narrowed, the trees thickened. We hadn't passed another person since the lot. The path split into a fork. I asked which way. She pointed left. No hesitation. I asked if she'd been here before. She said no. That stuck with me, because she was certain about everything, always, and no didn't match how fast she'd pointed. The left fork was barely a trail, single file now. She waved me ahead, so I took the lead. And I got in my own head, about her, about all of it. And at some point I realized I couldn't hear her behind me anymore. I turned around. The trail was empty. I called her name. Nothing. I walked back the way we'd come, all the way to the fork. Not there. I looked for a side path she could have slipped onto. There wasn't one. She was just gone. So I tried the right fork. It got worse the further I went, less and less like a real trail. I kept calling her name like an idiot. Then a branch snapped, off to my left, deep in the trees. I saw movement, something shifting behind a thick trunk, and I thought, Wren, of course. This is exactly the kind of thing she'd do. So I'd flip it, sneak up, scare her first. I crept over, quiet as I could. And at the last second, I jumped out, mid-yell. And it wasn't her. It was a man. Tall, middle-aged, inches from my face, and not startled, not at all. I backed up fast, blurting something useless. "I'm just looking for my friend." He didn't care. He started walking toward me. I turned to go and heard a second sound. To my right. Another man. This one wasn't hiding, standing in the open, watching me, holding a length of branch in one hand. He was between me and the trail. So I ran, blind through the trees, no idea where I was going, just away. And the second I ran, both of them ran too. No more pretending, no more quiet. Something caught my ankle and I went down, the first one, trying to pin me. I screamed and kicked and somehow got a foot into him and broke loose. Came up with my mouth full of blood, kept running. I don't think they followed past that. I didn't check. I ran until I hit the trail, ran the trail until I hit the lot. Her car was still there. The other 2 cars were gone. She wasn't anywhere. I called her 10 times. Nothing. I had the phone half raised to call the police when it buzzed. A text. From her. "Where did you go?" I looked up. She was walking out of the tree line, calm, not a scratch on her. I was yelling, trying to get the story out, and she just wasn't moved. More annoyed than anything, like I was being dramatic. We got in the car. I told her everything on the drive. She barely reacted. So I asked her straight, "Where did you go?" She said she thought I'd walked ahead without her, that she'd been trying to catch up the whole time, which was a lie. I'd walked back to the fork. There's no way I'd have missed her. That ride home was the tensest of my life. I kept looking over at her, wondering if someone that calm could have done something that cruel. The answer was probably yes. I never spoke to her again. And the people I've told all say the same thing. She set me up. She knew the trail. She knew the men. I've turned it over more times than I can count. The trail she picked, the fork she chose, the way she sent me ahead. 2 strangers in the exact stretch of woods she walked me into. And she came out without a scratch, asking me where I went. I still don't know why anyone would do that. I don't know where she is now. She's nowhere online. I don't know where she went after school. I just know she picked the trail. I've guided in the far north most of my life, long enough that getting lost stopped being something I worried about. That was the mistake, thinking I'd aged out of fear. His name was Wes. He grew up running trap lines before he could drive, better than me on a sled, better than me at reading winter ground. We'd been together a few years, and most of that time was spent on trips that would have ended a normal relationship. Week-long hunts, backcountry runs where a bad plan doesn't just make you uncomfortable, it kills you. The plan was simple. 2 registered cabins 60 miles apart, 1 night at each, home in 4 days. We'd run it twice before. Forecast was clean. First day, nothing. We reached the second cabin by late afternoon, ate the freeze-dried garbage Wes swore he liked, played cards. Easy night. I woke up to a blizzard. Nothing had called for it. Not a word in the forecast. Full whiteout. wind louder than the snow, and we had food, we had time. We could have waited. We didn't wait. Visibility was almost nothing, so Wes took point and I ran his track. Easier that way. Follow the machine in front of you instead of fighting blind ground. I don't know exactly how it happened. 1 second he was moving, the next his sled was on top of him. I was off mine and running before I understood what I'd seen. His leg was bent in a direction a leg does not bend, and this was a man who once walked 2 days on a broken foot and didn't mention it until we hit the truck. First instinct? Get him on my machine, ride us both out. But Wes is a big man, and the snow was deep, and a loaded sled in that powder is more than one person can wrestle. I got him onto the seat once. He lasted maybe 10 seconds before he slid off the side. The sound he made hitting the ground. I never want to hear that again. We tried once more. Worse. He couldn't grip with his legs at all. After the second time, he told me to stop. Not asked, told. And we both understood what the plan had just become. I got the sat phone out, hands shaking so bad I almost dropped it in the snow. Got a connection after a few tries, but I couldn't tell if the coordinates went through. So I do it the hard way. Leave Wes wrapped in every layer we had. Ride for the nearest cabin. Reach the emergency radio. There wasn't a conversation about it. He looked at me. I looked at him. He told me not to do anything stupid. And I left him there in the snow. I navigated by feel and GPS, but I was barely holding it together. After 45 minutes, the ground stopped matching. Landmarks in the wrong places, the terrain reading wrong. I told myself it was the snow playing with my eyes. Then I saw smoke through the trees. I turned toward it, thinking I'd somehow looped back to a cabin. But this structure didn't match either one. Smaller, uglier. One whole side swallowed by a drift. A faint glow in the window, smoke off the chimney. And smoke meant a person. A person meant a radio, or at least heat enough to keep going. I killed the engine and crossed to the door, knocked. No one came. The handle turned. Inside it was warm, really warm. A stove going in the corner, a bedroll on the floor, a can of food, spoon still standing in it, like whoever lived there had stepped out 5 minutes before I walked in. I called out. Nothing. So I stood by the stove, warming my hands, trying the sat phone again. No luck. I didn't want to go back into that storm, but Wes was out there. So I turned to leave, and that's when I saw the shelf. Binoculars, a folded map, a notebook. I opened the map first. A trail map of the exact country we'd been riding. Sections circled in marker. 2 of the circles I recognized instantly, both cabins. Ours. And next to them, dates. Pencil. Some from that winter, some from the winter before, some older. I picked up the notebook. It was a record of people, descriptions, what they wore, which direction they were headed, page after page. I want to be clear about something. It wasn't fear at first. It was more like every object in that room rearranged itself in my head at the same time. The warmth wasn't comfort anymore. The spoon in the can wasn't a coincidence. There was a very good chance Wes and I were somewhere in that notebook. I put it down and went for the door. Before my hand reached the handle, I heard it. A scream. From below me. Under the floor. A woman. No words, just screaming, full-throated. The way a person screams when something is being done to them. I didn't think. I ran. Started the sled and rode out without looking back once. I never saw that cabin again. I don't remember most of the ride. At some point, I reached the real cabin, got the radio, and they sent a helicopter for Wes. He was hypothermic, his leg was destroyed, but he was alive, conscious.
I told everyone who'd listen about that cabin. The map, the notebook, the scream. They said they'd send a team when conditions allowed. I followed up, hard. A few days later, they told me they'd gone out. They found no structure matching my description, anywhere near those coordinates. The man on the phone suggested carefully that maybe I'd hallucinated it. Cold, panic, guilt over leaving Wes. I hung up on him. There are only 3 ways to explain that day. None of them let me sleep. 1, none of it was real. I was half frozen and terrified, and I'd just left the person I loved to die in the snow, and my brain built 10 detailed minutes inside a building that never existed. I can't fully rule that out. 2, it was real, and the woman under that floor was someone who needed help, someone I left there, and the troopers either couldn't find the place or didn't try hard enough. Or 3, it was a trap. The smoke, the light, the warmth, bait. And whoever filled that notebook had been pulling people off that trail for years. And if that's the answer, then the scream I heard was someone who got there before me. Which means if I'd reached that cabin a little earlier, it would have been me under the floor.